know that feeling? It's 4 o'clock sharp. Outside it's still pitch black and silent. But there you are, wide awake, staring at the ceiling. It's like some invisible internal alarm clock just went off. You toss and turn, desperately trying to drift back off, but the nagging thoughts immediately start their merry dance. And the most irritating thing is when everyone tells you, well, what do you expect? It's just your age. Today, we are going to bust that myth once and for all. Waking up at 4 a.m. isn't a life sentence, and it certainly isn't an essential part of getting older. It's actually a signal your body is sending you. In this video, I'll explain why your internal alarm clock keeps ringing so early, the biggest mistake almost all retirees make, and most importantly, how to fix it and finally get that full night's rest back. Now tell me, do you often wake up at the exact same time? Let us know in the comments if you recognise yourself in this scenario. Before we dive into the common mistakes and the remedies, let's take a quick peek into the body's sleep control room. Imagine that inside each of us, there's a complex sleep management system built on two main pillars. The first is sleep architecture. Sleep isn't just turning off the light switch. It consists of several cycles which include phases of light, deep, and REM sleep. Deep sleep is our body's main repair workshop, where we truly restore ourselves. The second pillar is our circadian rhythms, our internal 24-hour body clock. They tell us exactly when we should be sleeping and when we should be wide awake. As we get older, this finely tuned system starts to experience a few little glitches. Our deep sleep phases shorten, and the light phases become longer. We also become much more sensitive to both noise and light. Crucially, our internal clock starts to run a little bit fast. Understanding these two basic principles is the key to solving those early awakenings. It's not magic, nor is it a curse, it's just biology. And it's biology we absolutely can and must take control of. Right then, the first and most fundamental reason you find yourself wide awake at the crack of dawn is simply a natural shift in your circadian rhythms. Remember when you were young and could easily sleep until lunchtime, and getting up at 7 felt like absolute torture? Well, as we age, the complete opposite happens. Your internal clock starts running ahead of time. Scientists call this advanced sleep phase syndrome. Essentially, your body begins preparing for sleep earlier. You feel sleepy much sooner in the evening, and naturally, your entire sleep cycle finishes earlier too. Melatonin, the sleep hormone, starts kicking in sooner, and the morning wake-up hormone, cortisol, begins its rise not at 6 or 7, but sometimes as early as 3 or 4 in the morning. That's why when you wake up, you often don't feel groggy or exhausted. You feel this strange burst of energy, like your body is genuinely ready to start the day. Now, this isn't an illness. It's simply a feature of mature physiology. The real trouble is that our social routines and habits aren't built around this new rhythm, and that conflict is what stops us from getting those proper, required hours of sleep. Let's dig a little deeper and look at the structure, or, as the experts call it, the architecture of your sleep. Imagine your sleep as a tall block of flats. When you were younger, you'd easily drift down to the very bottom, most solid floors. That's the deep sleep phase. That's where the main repair work and deep rest for your body happen. But as we get older, that lift starts to get a bit sluggish. We tend to spend more and more time on the upper floors, right in the light sleep phases. What does that mean in practical terms? It means the slightest sound outside, a creaking floorboard, or even the clock ticking too loudly, is enough to wake you up. Your sleep becomes much more superficial and fragmented. You might be waking up several times throughout the night, even if you don't actually remember doing it. And that classic 4 o'clock in the morning wake-up call, that's simply the moment when a light sleep cycle coincides with a small external disturbance or an internal signal from your body. You just can't fall back into that deep slumber because the required depth isn't there anymore. It's a bit like swimming right on the surface of the water, where the smallest ripple or wave is enough to push you out into the air. Let's talk about the main conductor of our mornings, the hormone cortisol. Most people know it simply as the stress hormone, but its role is actually far more extensive. Cortisol is precisely what dictates when we wake up. Normally, its level stays minimal throughout the night, then gently rises towards morning, peaking around 8 o'clock. This surge is what gives us that initial boost of energy and alertness for the day ahead. However, as we age, this well-oiled machine often changes its rhythm. The peak production of cortisol shifts to a much earlier time. Instead of rousing you gently at 7, it starts its wake-up call at 4 or even 3 in the morning. At that point, your body receives a powerful biochemical signal. Get up, time to get going. Even if you are nowhere near physically rested, it is extremely difficult to fight off that overwhelming impulse. If we then factor in the minor stresses or anxious thoughts that often visit us during those quiet hours, the production of cortisol only intensifies. The result is a vicious cycle. You wake up due to the early cortisol release, then you start worrying that you can't get back to sleep. This worry further increases your stress levels, which in turn boosts the cortisol, completely destroying any chance you had of drifting off again. If cortisol is our rousing morning alarm clock, then melatonin is surely our gentle evening lullaby. This crucial hormone is produced specifically in the dark, signaling to the entire body that it's time to wind down and rest. It lowers our core body temperature, slows down essential functions, and helps us gently drift off to sleep. Unfortunately, as we age, our bodies naturally produce less and less of this crucial melatonin. This is one of the key reasons why older adults often find it difficult both to fall asleep and perhaps, more importantly, to stay asleep. Furthermore, melatonin production is incredibly sensitive to light exposure. Even a short burst of light at night, say just getting up to go to the loo, can abruptly halt its production. And what about the light flooding off our televisions, tablets, or mobile phones right before bed? The blue light emitted by these devices is particularly effective at suppressing melatonin. It essentially tricks our brain into believing it is still daytime. The result is that you go to bed with very low levels of this essential sleep hormone. Your rest becomes light and easily disturbed, meaning that any small factor, be it early cortisol or external noise, can easily pull you straight out of the arms of Morpheus. Let's move on to a cause so utterly ordinary that we often overlook it. Yet it is one of the biggest nocturnal saboteurs. That, of course, is the simple need to pop to the loo. As we get a bit older, things inevitably change in our urinary system. The muscles in the bladder might not be as strong as they once were, and for gentlemen, the prostate often becomes enlarged. On top of that, our kidneys sometimes stop producing more fluid, precisely when we are supposed to be sleeping. The result is that those midnight trips to the bathroom, what the doctors call nocturia, become a regular occurrence. You might think, what's the fuss? Just go and hop straight back to sleep. But it's rarely that simple. Firstly, the mere urge itself fractures your sleep structure, pulling you right out of that restorative deep phase into a much lighter one. Secondly, when you climb out of bed, you inevitably switch on a light, even if it's just a dim night light. As we discussed, that is a direct hit on your vital melatonin production. Thirdly, you're moving around, your body temperature starts to rise, and your brain activates. You get back into bed only to discover that your sleepiness has completely vanished. Your brain has essentially rebooted itself, and restarting the process of falling asleep can be incredibly hard, particularly if this happens around 4 in the morning, just as the stress hormone cortisol is getting ready for its morning launch. Let's focus on your evening routine. How you spend those last 2 or 3 hours before turning in directly dictates whether you're going to be wide awake at 4 o'clock in the morning. Many of us, out of simple habit, spend this important winding down time right in front of the telly. That bright, flickering screen, the loud volume, and especially when it's worrying news or a truly gripping drama, acts as a huge stimulant to your entire nervous system. Instead of settling down and preparing for a good night's rest, your brain is suddenly put on high alert. We already know that the bright light from the screen completely blocks the production of melatonin. The result? You end up going to bed feeling completely buzzed and lacking in that essential sleep hormone. Your body simply hasn't had the time to switch into off-duty mode. Even if sheer exhaustion eventually pulls you under, the sleep you do get is usually very light and restless. And when that first phase of deep sleep finishes, often around that dreadful 4 a.m. mark, your overstimulated mind pops right back up and refuses to settle down again. Skipping proper sleep hygiene and neglecting a gentle evening ritual is one of the most widespread mistakes we make, and thankfully, it's one of the easiest to put right. What should we eat to get a good night's sleep? Now that question is just as crucial as the perennial favourite. What should I eat to lose weight? What you consume, both food and drink, in the evening can either act as a soothing lullaby or a complete saboteur of your rest. Let's start with the obvious culprit, caffeine. Many of us mistakenly believe that if we have a cuppa at, say, 4 in the afternoon, it will be completely out of our system by bedtime. That, my friends, is a fallacy. Caffeine can actually linger in the body for up to 8 and sometimes even 10 hours in certain people. This means that seemingly harmless afternoon cup of coffee or strong tea could very well come back to haunt you with deep-seated insomnia late at night. Our next enemy is alcohol. It's true that a small glass of wine or a nightcap can feel like it helps you relax and drift off more quickly. But be warned, it is a trap. Alcohol disrupts the whole structure of your sleep, particularly suppressing the crucial REM phase, which is essential for processing memories and emotions. Once the alcohol starts to wear off, you experience what's known as wakefulness rebound, that sudden, wide-awake jolt, often precisely around 3 or 4 in the morning. Finally, let's talk about that evening meal. Heavy, fatty, or overly spicy food for dinner forces your digestive system to work overtime right when the rest of your body is attempting to wind down and rest. This activity can lead to discomfort, heartburn, and even an unwelcome rise in core body temperature, all of which are absolutely detrimental to getting sound, restorative sleep. Many of us, as we get older, take regular medications to keep ourselves ticking over, and quite rightly so. However, we often overlook checking the side effects section in the leaflet. That little section might actually hold the key to your nighttime troubles. A whole range of common drugs can negatively impact the quality of your sleep. For instance, some blood pressure medications, like beta blockers, are known to reduce your body's production of melatonin, the hormone that helps you sleep. Diuretics, which are often taken later in the day, virtually guarantee you several trips to the bathroom during the night. Furthermore, certain antidepressants might cause outright insomnia or make your sleep much more fragmented. Steroids used to treat inflammation have a powerful stimulating effect and can leave you feeling quite wired. Even common, over-the-counter cold remedies often contain ingredients that actively interfere with a good night's rest. It is absolutely vital that you do not self-medicate or stop taking any prescribed drugs on your own initiative. However, if you notice that sleep problems started shortly after beginning a new medication, please make sure you discuss this with your GP or specialist. They may be able to find an alternative drug for you, or perhaps adjust the timing of your dose to minimize the impact on your well-deserved sleep. We often hear the saying, movement is life, don't we? Well, that truism absolutely applies to getting a good night's rest. If you find yourself waking up throughout the night, a lack of physical activity during the day is often the hidden culprit. Your body actually needs a certain level of healthy fatigue to truly switch off and get proper rest. If you've spent the majority of the day glued to the telly or sat comfortably in your favourite armchair, your system simply hasn't used up enough fuel. Why would your body bother sinking into a deep restorative sleep when it hasn't earned it? The result, sadly, is that restless, surface-level slumber. But moderate exercise, on the other hand, works absolute wonders. Simple things, a regular walk, some gentle stretching, a swim, or perhaps even Nordic walking, they all help regulate your natural body clock, your circadian rhythms. They initially raise your core temperature. Then, as that temperature naturally dips in the evening, it sends a clear signal to your brain. Time for bed. Beyond the physical benefits, keeping active is arguably the best medicine for stress and worry. It helps us burn off those pesky excess stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, helping your nervous system finally settle down. Now the golden rule: avoid intense exercise. Anything that gets the heart racing 3 or 4 hours before you plan to tuck in. We don't want to overstimulate the system right before lights out. However, a gentle evening stroll or some light stretching, that will certainly help things along nicely. For many retirees, that afternoon, snooze is practically a sacred ritual. A short rest after lunch certainly feels like the perfect way to recharge our batteries, and there is definitely truth in that. A quick power nap, we're talking no more than 20 to 30 minutes, can genuinely boost your mood and concentration. However, this is where a subtle danger lies. If your daytime sleep stretches too long, past the 30 or 40-minute mark, or if you're tempted to nod off late in the afternoon, say after 4 or 5 p.m., you run the very real risk of stealing sleep from the coming night. A long nap actually reduces what scientists call sleep pressure, that essential, built-up demand your body has for rest throughout the day. Think of it as a container that needs to fill up. For a truly restful night, that container needs to be full. A lengthy afternoon kip effectively drains the container, leaving your body without the necessary drive to achieve deep, sustained sleep by bedtime. The result? You might find yourself tossing and turning for hours, leading to fragmented and broken sleep overnight. If you feel you absolutely must have a rest during the day, approach it wisely. Do it earlier, and stick rigidly to no more than half an hour. Set an alarm, a proper alarm, to ensure you don't accidentally oversleep. The evening draws in, the house settles down, the telly is finally switched off, and you find yourself alone with your own mind. And that, my friends, is when it begins. All those nagging worries you managed to keep quiet during the day's hustle and bustle suddenly come bubbling to the surface. You start re-examining old conversations, fretting about your health, worrying about the children and grandchildren, and of course, the finances. This never-ending carousel of thought acts as a powerful alarm bell for your nervous system, the part responsible for that old fight or flight reaction. Your body takes its cue from your mind and goes straight into high alert. Your heart rate speeds up, your muscles tense, and your cortisol, the stress hormone, levels spike. Trying to nod off when you're in this state of preparedness is almost impossible. And even if you do manage to drift off, the anxiety doesn't actually go away. It just smoulders away in your subconscious, leading to a light, shallow sleep. And then, without fail, around the notorious hour of 4 in the morning, this is precisely when your sleep cycles naturally transition, your mental defenses are at their lowest, and those worries burst forth with renewed vigour. Your brain decides it's time to solve those problems, right there and then, trapping you in a relentless spiral of worry that keeps you wide awake until the sun comes up. That, in short, is one of the primary psychological reasons behind those unwelcome early morning awakenings. Retirement, the loss of a loved one, or even the children finally leaving the nest, all these major life transitions can easily lead to profound feelings of loneliness and, sometimes, to the development of depression. These emotional states are truly among the greatest enemies of a good night's sleep. Depression and insomnia, as we know, often go hand in hand, forming a truly vicious circle. On one side, a low or depressed emotional state can upset the chemical balance in your brain, affecting the very substances that regulate sleep. This leads to difficulties drifting off, fragmented, broken sleep, and that classic telltale symptom of depression, waking up too early in the morning. On the other side, chronic lack of sleep itself severely worsens the symptoms of depression. It wears down your nervous system, drastically reduces your ability to cope with your emotions, and leaves you feeling utterly irritable and apathetic. That feeling of loneliness plays a significant part too. A deep sense of vulnerability or feeling abandoned can subconsciously keep your entire nervous system highly stressed and on edge, preventing you from truly relaxing and sinking into the deep, peaceful slumber you need. If you feel that the issue isn't simply poor sleep habits, but something deeper concerning your mental well-being, please don't hesitate to reach out to a professional for support. It's a real paradox, isn't it? The more you worry about not getting to sleep, the less likely you are to actually drift off. This common phenomenon is known as conditioned insomnia. It usually starts quite simply, with just a few bad nights. Perhaps you woke up at 4 in the morning once, and then it happened again the next night. Before you know it, as soon as you settle down in bed, that creeping anxiety begins. You start thinking, what if I wake up again tonight and can't get back to sleep? Suddenly, your comfortable bed, that place of rest and quiet, has turned into a torture chamber, a stage set for failure. This anticipatory anxiety instantly triggers that familiar mechanism inside us. Stress hormones kick in, your muscles tense up, and your heart starts racing. You are essentially winding yourself up, programming yourself for a failed night. Your brain forms a strong, sticky association. Bed equals worry and wakefulness. Then you wake up in the middle of the night, glance at the clock, see 4 o'clock, and your immediate thought is, oh no, not again. This is dreadful. I won't sleep a wink till morning. That wave of panic instantly and completely wipes out any chance of drifting off again. You have, quite literally, created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead of trying to relax calmly, you start fighting with the sleep, and sleep is a battle you can never win. For decades, your life ran like clockwork. The alarm went off, you ate breakfast, headed to work, took your lunch break precisely on time, and came home. That wasn't just a list of things you did. It was an external structure, a framework that held your internal body clock, your circadian rhythms in place. When you finally retire, that framework vanishes. No more dashing out of bed at 7 a.m. You can stay up later, maybe watch the telly till midnight, or grab a lovely nap whenever the mood strikes you. It feels like total freedom, doesn't it? But for our internal body clock, it's pure chaos. It loses its map. When there's no fixed time for waking up, eating meals, or even doing physical and mental tasks, your circadian rhythms start to drift. The body gets confused. It doesn't know when it's supposed to produce the hormones that make you sleepy, and when it should release those that keep you bright and alert. This timing disruption makes your sleep fragile and unpredictable. You might drop off easily enough in the evening, but because your internal clock is all over the place, your body might abruptly decide that nighttime is officially finished. By 4 a.m., the most powerful way to recalibrate your internal clock is to restore a strict daily routine, particularly a fixed wake-up time. And yes, that includes the weekends. Our brains often use those quiet night hours to catch up on the work they didn't manage during the day. This happens especially when we've spent the daylight hours trying to distract ourselves from problems, unresolved issues, or difficult conversations. We put them off, promising ourselves we'll deal with them later. But our subconscious mind never forgets a thing. And that's when it happens. Around 4 in the morning, the wee hours, during that lighter phase of sleep, when our conscious control is weakest, these lingering worries pop right up to the surface. It's as if the brain says, right, the boss is asleep, nobody's interrupting, perfect time to start thinking about how to pay the bills, or perhaps, what exactly did the neighbour mean by that look she gave me? It actively starts chewing over these problems, trying desperately to find a solution. Naturally, this kind of intense mental activity is completely incompatible with a good night's rest. It fires up the parts of the brain responsible for analysis and planning, completely chasing away any chance of sleepiness. Sometimes it's enormously helpful to take a pen and paper just before you settle down and write down everything that's bothering you. This simple technique helps offload the problems from your mind, signaling to your brain that you haven't forgotten them and that you will absolutely deal with them in the morning. Remember, the night is meant for resting. We've spent a fair bit of time discussing how light, especially blue light, can really interfere with a good night's sleep when it's evening. But here's the interesting thing. Light can also be your very best friend in the morning. It is the most powerful natural tool we have for setting our internal body clock, those famous circadian rhythms. If you're trying to shift your ridiculously early wake-up time to something a bit later, you need to send your body a very clear signal that the proper day has begun. And the best signal, by far, is bright daylight. As soon as you wake up, even if it's terribly early, make an effort to get a good dose of that morning light straight away. Ideally, that means stepping outside for 10 or 15 minutes. If you can't manage that, simply walk straight over to the window, pull those curtains right back, and just look out at the sky. Now, you don't need to stare directly at the sun. Please don't do that. Your eyes just need to register that bright, ambient daylight. That signal goes straight to your brain and tells it, right, this is the proper start of the day. If you repeat this routine regularly, those internal rhythms, your circadian clock, will slowly but surely start to shift. Your body will learn that morning actually starts later than 4 o'clock. Over time, it will adjust the release of cortisol. That's your wake-up hormone, and also the end of your sleep cycle. It's a very simple method, but honestly, it is astonishingly effective. Your bedroom should really only be associated with 2 things: sleep and, well, romance. That's it. It's not meant to be an office, a cinema, or even a dining room. You need to transform your bedroom into a proper sleep sanctuary, a real cave of rest. The first and arguably the most crucial rule is darkness. We're talking complete, absolute blackout conditions. Invest in some heavy curtains or proper blackout blinds to stop that street light creeping in. And here's a handy tip. Cover up any little blinking lights on your gadgets. A bit of tape works wonders. Even the tiniest chink of light can stop your body producing the melatonin it needs to switch off properly. Secondly, quiet. If you're bothered by the noise from the street, or perhaps those slightly loud neighbours, don't hesitate to use earplugs, or if you prefer, try a white noise machine. The third point is coolness. The ideal temperature for a good night's kip is usually somewhere between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius. Make sure you air the room thoroughly before you get into bed. And finally, get rid of those distracting irritants. Top of the list? The television. Don't fall into the trap of working on a laptop while you're in bed. And please, no eating in bed. Your brain needs a crystal clear signal. This bed is for sleeping. When you stick to these sensible rules, you'll create a strong, conditioned reflex that will help you nod off faster and enjoy a much deeper sleep. We can't simply crash into sleep straight after a busy, active day. Our bodies and minds need a little time to slow down and properly shift into rest mode. Establish your own special wind-down routine and try to stick to it at the same time every single evening. This acts as a reliable signal to your brain and body. It's time to prepare for sleep. So, what sort of things should you include? About 90 minutes before you plan to go to bed, make sure you switch off the television and put away your phone and tablet. Dim the main lights in your home, relying instead on softer lamps or low wattage bulbs that emit a warm, yellow glow. Have a lovely warm bath or a shower. The initial rise in body temperature, followed by the natural cooling process afterwards, really helps to induce sleepiness. Brew yourself a soothing cup of herbal tea, perhaps chamomile, mint or lemon balm, but steer clear of traditional black or green tea as they still contain caffeine. Read a proper physical book, but choose something calm, not a thrilling mystery or anything too engaging or alarming. Gentle classics or poetry are absolutely perfect for this time. You might also enjoy putting on some quiet, relaxing instrumental music or some gentle nature sounds. Why not try some light stretching or some simple breathing exercises? The key is that these actions must feel genuinely pleasant and calming to you. Consistent repetition of this routine, day after day, will form a powerful habit, a personal lullaby, if you will, that helps you drift off easily. We've previously discussed what you should avoid eating and drinking before bedtime. Now let's focus on the good stuff, what you can and should have. Your evening meal should be light, certainly, but it needs to contain the right ingredients to help your body produce those essential sleep hormones. Look for foods rich in tryptophan. That's an amino acid which helps the body create serotonin and then eventually melatonin. You'll find tryptophan in things like turkey, chicken, bananas, nuts, and cheese. And here's a tip. To help the tryptophan get properly absorbed, pair it with some complex carbohydrates. Think wholemeal bread, a bit of porridge, or some brown rice. For instance, a perfect light supper would be a small serving of baked turkey with some seasonal vegetables. If you're feeling a hunger pang before bed that's keeping you awake, it's perfectly fine to have a little snack. A banana, a small handful of almonds, or a nice warm glass of milk would be wonderful options. They don't just give children warm milk at night for nothing, you know. It contains both tryptophan and calcium, which is vital for helping your body absorb it. And finally, do keep a close eye on your fluid intake. Try to drink most of your water throughout the day, and then limit your drinking for about 2 hours before you go to sleep. This will help prevent those annoying trips to the bathroom during the night. Having said that, there's no need to suffer from thirst. A small sip of water certainly won't hurt. Well, despite all your best efforts and nightly routines, it's happened. You've woken up, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning. The biggest mistake you can make right now is starting to panic or trying desperately to force yourself back to sleep. Don't look at the clock. That will only ramp up your anxiety. And please, don't pick up your phone. That blue light will wake you up completely. Avoid starting to toss, turn, and sigh dramatically in bed. If you haven't managed to drift off within 15 or 20 minutes, you must get out of bed. Yes, that's right. Your bed should not become associated with that frustrating, agonizing wait for sleep. Get up and move to another room. Find something extremely dull and monotonous to do, using only dim lighting. You could read a manual for a household appliance, perhaps sort out the socks by colour, or just flick through an old magazine. No screens whatsoever, no work, and absolutely no cleaning. The idea here is to bore your brain so thoroughly that it actually starts begging to go back to sleep. As soon as that drowsiness hits you, go straight back to bed. This simple method helps break the vicious cycle of bed anxiety insomnia and teaches your body the proper way to handle those unwelcome night awakenings. Right then, let's summarise. The most important takeaway we should have today is this. Waking up at 4 in the morning isn't just an unavoidable consequence of getting older. It's actually a complex puzzle built from many pieces, a shift in our internal body clock, changes in sleep structure, hormonal imbalances, and, most crucially, our own habits and anxieties. Perhaps the most surprising element in all of this is realising just how powerful a tool simple morning daylight can be. A quick 10-minute stroll, or even just looking out the window after you wake up, can do more to reset your sleep cycle than expensive sleeping pills. You are not helpless here. By adjusting your evening routine, tweaking your diet, adding a little bit of movement into your day, and most importantly, changing how you react when you wake up in the night, you can take back control of your sleep. It won't happen overnight, but step by step, you can fine-tune that internal body clock of yours. Thank you so much for sticking with the video until the very end. If you found this helpful, please do give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future discussions. Now here's a question for you. Which of these tips are you going to put into practice today? Or perhaps you have your own tried and true secret for a good night's rest. Please share it in the comments below. Your experience could really help someone else. Wishing you all a restful night.